1, 2, 3, 4.
Chant down Babylon kingdom, team make me chant down Vatican now. Bang bling bling, chant down Babylon kingdom, team make me chant down Vatican now. Chant down Babylon kingdom, team make me chant down Vatican now. Bang bling bling, chant down Babylon kingdom, team make me chant down Vatican now.
What up, y'all? Babylon 5 Podcast. It's your boy, Jermaine Babbles. How you guys doing? Let's see. Let me just turn myself up with my mixer thing. What is it? Is this a mixer? No, it's preamp. My preamp. Nah, it's not. It's the preamp. I don't know what it is anymore. Nah, because my preamp is the DBX, the DB9. I think the DB9 is my preamp. I don't use it. Well, I got it because I was planning to just record here. I mean, as I'm getting better acclimated with these plugins and things like that and what they do, as I figured that was the whole point. That was one of the main points of this podcast, was just to naturally immerse myself with using these programs and just naturally get better with these programs. You know what I'm saying? Secrets. Like, why not just make it a goal to always open Studio One? Always be interested in how I can improve on certain things within Studio One. You know? That's, it's definitely something that I put in my head that I wanted to do. So I feel like at this point I'm getting a little better. But at the time when I bought the DB9, I did not know what the fuck I was doing. Actually, now that I think about it, I don't use the DB9 because my Blue Baby bottle, I bought a Blue Baby bottle. And I was doing all these recordings for the Grump. Like, I was just recording it all for myself for like a year before I put it out, before I went and recorded it elsewhere. Like a year and a half I was working on that album. And I was like, dude, what the fuck is going on with these recordings? Like, I'd have like real good takes. And then all of a sudden, like, the vocals just like in the middle of the verse would just be like real, like, tweaked. Just sound like, it would just sound like that, all like static. All of a sudden. And I was like, what the fuck is that? And then and then one time, like, with no beat on, I was recording something. And with that Blue Baby bottle, it just, like, fucking did it, that shit. It was like, what the fuck? I bought it on the website Reverb, where you can, like, buy used. You can buy new or used fucking shit at whatever price. You probably even negotiate the price down. You know, it's like one of those sites. And I got this, and I think it was, like new, you get it out of the box. And what I found, and it was like the seller was very highly rated, right? So I was like, that's cool. So I bought the Blue Baby bottle from that guy, and the Blue Baby bottle was broken. It was dysfunctional, but I didn't realize right away. But I knew that there was problems with my recordings, but I was like, what am I doing here with I was like, I thought there was something wrong with my plugins or something. I was like, maybe I'm putting too much on it, and that's why it's fucking up the vocals. But it was actually like the microphone was fucked up. So because I don't use that style of microphone anymore, that I need to use phantom power, I don't use the DB9 currently. But the most interesting thing about that website, Reverb, if you've ever used it or if you hear it and you're like, oh, I can buy things off this website. I bought the DB9 there. That shit works great. I think I may have bought some other things there as well. But the microphone, it's dysfunctional, right? And when I go to rate, because you're supposed to, like, keep hassling you when the product gets there immediately. They'll hassle you, like, rate this person. I forget what it was. Like, it was something where, like, yeah, they just keep hassling you to give this person a rating, right? So when I go to change my rating, Like months after I have the mic, I go to change my rating. Like, yo, this thing, like I didn't realize it at first because I would always had a like an instrumental or something playing, like beats playing while I was rapping over it, while I was singing, and it was fucking with my vocals, and I didn't realize it was the microphone that was faulty. I thought I had great equipment, and so I go to change the rating on Reverb, and they review the rating change and why you're changing it, and they told me that they would not allow me to post a negative review for the seller. You're not allowed to post negative reviews for any seller. So take that information as you will. I have not made any more purchases off of Reverb since I heard that. Since I found out that fucking, they they don't allow anyone on that website to give a seller a bad review, even if it's shit product. So your option is to either not review the purchase, to not give a rating on the purchase, or give a positive rating. So if you don't understand what I'm saying, it's like every seller you see on there, if he has a lot of positive ratings, that's cool, but you would never be able to see any negative ratings. It's not how that site operates. I'm going to give you guys the social medias, or this is episode 95. I don't even understand how I got on that tangent there, but I was like, let me just finish it out. Let me just finish out that babble. What is this podcast? It's the Babylon 5 podcast, so let me finish out that babble. It's episode 95. We're calling this bad boy Moreno. Shout out to Brandon Moreno. I'm pretty sure that's his first name. I was like, fuck, is that not his first name? That's his first name. I'm pretty sure that's his first name. Yeah, it's Brandon Moreno. Shout out to Brandon Moreno, the first Mexican-born UFC champion. And I'm sitting here like, what the fuck? Why didn't I know his name? But it's just how today's going, ladies and gentlemen. I forgot. Briefly forgot his first name. So congratulations to Brandon Moreno. So we're calling this episode 95 Moreno. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope your week's been great. Give you guys social medias. If you want to follow this podcast on Instagram and Twitter, it's at Babylon5Pod. If you want to follow my personal accounts for whatever reason, it's at My Name's Jermaine. You can email this podcast at Babylon5podcast@gmail.com. You can listen to this podcast. You can follow this podcast at Babylon5.podbean.com. You can also listen to this podcast on Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, YouTube, my nigga. Pretty much anywhere podcasts stream. If you guys are on Xbox, go ahead and add me at SauceBoss414. Damn, I was sitting here like, damn, I haven't really played video games in a while. I don't know. I think I maybe played Civilization the other day. But I consider that that's like my nerd shit. Only the cool people play Civilization. Fuck y'all. If you guys are on Twitch, go ahead to twitch.tv/Babylon5. Go ahead and add a brother. If you guys want to be so kind, go to teespring.com/stores/BOFpod-shop. Go ahead and cop a t-shirt. Got leggings on there. I'm spraying nasal spray in my nose because I get real dry up there, ladies and gentlemen. As I told you, this is the good shit here. You know, I can breathe clearly now. The swollen nostrils are gone. The swollen membranes. I got like swollen membranes is what the situation is, and then I just can't breathe through my nose. Dude, you guys don't even understand being able to breathe through your nose. It's so wild. But yeah, go cop some. I was like, I've been on this tangent many times, but you just don't understand. Just going from not being able to breathe through your nose and just thinking that was the way of your life, and then all of a sudden you can breathe through. You figure out there's a way. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a way. I just wish I knew about it a long time ago. You got Patreon. If you got, I'm like, where am I? If you guys want to join my Patreon, support the podcast in general, go to Patreon.com/Babylon5Pod, where you get this episode immediately on Sunday. You get, whatever exclusives I choose to put on there. Gonna get some video content hopefully soon. I'm gonna work my way around that here. We can get into that in just a bit here. We'll get into that. But definitely gonna do some video work on there. And if you guys are on TikTok, add me at Babylon5 Podcast on TikTok. And before I forget to mention it, join my Discord. Go to at Babylon5 Pod. Join my Discord. Yeah, I didn't put it in the notes. I just hope I remember. Sometimes, you know what I'm saying? I just hope I remember. So this past weekend, as if you guys were listening to episode 94, I was saying, like, I was kind of worried about my outfit because I got dressed under the idea that I was going to a majority African-American affair, a majority African-American wedding, and then it came to my attention that it was the whites that were getting married, and when I came into that information, I started to feel like, fuck. Am I overdressed? I didn't know. But I killed them niggas on Saturday. As I said, I would. Came in there, I was freshest nigga in there. It was an old man in there. Not an old man. He was an older man, older white dude in there. He had, like, it was like the sky, it was like not necessarily, it was like powder blue, but like, it was like kind of like pinstripe, like powder blue pinstripe jacket with the white shirt. He had an American flag pin with the fucking red bow tie. My nigga was clean. Old boy was clean. That was my only competition, and he left early, and at that point, I had won the freshest nigga at the wedding award at that point. I took it home. He was the only nigga that was trying to compete with me. But I took it home. A lot of people were, this is my thing, somebody mentioned it. Like, as my wife and I were leaving the wedding, this guy was like, hey, man, I was sitting by you at the wedding. I just wanted to say, man, like, you're dressed amazing, man. The hat, the glasses, man. And and I'm just like, dude, I don't know. I never know what I'm supposed to wear to these things, because when I'm invited to a wedding, if I'm going to a wedding, my nigga, we about to get dressed up. We peacocking as a motherfucker out there. We about to get dressed up. And but usually when I go to weddings, I feel a little overdressed. You know what I'm saying? I feel a little overdressed from time to time. But then it's like, why isn't everybody dressed like this right now? We're at a fucking wedding. Is how I feel at every wedding. I'm like, why didn't you get crazy crispy today? Why didn't you get fresh? Show me your ideas. We're adults here. Show me that you can dress yourself properly in a way that that fucking is like, damn, bro. You know what I'm saying? I was the cleanest nigga in there. Cleanest nigga in Menominee Falls. Davians. They're gonna have to keep me out of there. I'm the freshest nigga Menominee Falls has ever seen. Congratulations to Michelle and Christy. Beautiful wedding. There's this one song that was playing that was pretty fire. I think she was like, you raise me up. That was pretty fire ass song. I'm sorry if I hurt your ears there with that. I don't be listening to white music like that. You know what I'm saying? I don't necessarily be listening to white music like that. So I had never really heard that song before. And they was having moments where, like, people would say some shit. They'd come and spit a poem. They'd come up to the mic and spit spit a poem and they ain't even asked me if I had a verse. They didn't even ask if I had a verse. But they was letting people come up and spit these poems. And then in between, they play this song, You Raise Me Up. And I was like, yo, this shit fire. I don't know what this song is, but this song is fire. But shout out to them, you know. It was a cool little affair. We kicked it. We did the things. We did the things. The chicken was cool. You know what I'm saying? Chicken was cool. My wife brought back memories. The son, so the wedding. It was my wife's best friend. One of my wife's best friend's mom was getting married, and my wife and her best friend just so happened to used to work at the place where the wedding was being held. They used to work at that venue, so it was a great stroll down memory lane for them, you know. As I referred to my wife, we're here with your first love, Davians. We're here, you know. And she did not feel that way at all. She does not feel that way. But I just want to let you niggas know I killed him. My navy blue suit with the navy blue and gold pocket square with the navy blue, if I didn't say fedora, with the little brown trimming on top, with the gold frame glasses, the navy blue shoes, the Pac-Man socks, the light brown no collar button-up shirt, no collar, all right, button-up shirt. I killed them niggas. They ain't think this nigga was coming out like that. Niggas ain't think nobody was coming out like that, but I came in and killed them niggas. Killed them niggas, ladies and gentlemen. And that's why I be having a problem. I'm like, man, I don't know if I'm trying to like upstage niggas at a wedding. I'm not trying to be the freshest nigga at the wedding necessarily. But then at the same time, if I get there and there's some fresh ass niggas in there, I'ma feel like, fuck, why didn't I wear some dressed up clothes? Them niggas is fresh in there. So you can't win, you know? So I just show up. I just show up and I do my damn thing. If I'm fresh, I'm fresh. It's just how a nigga rolls. Got a new computer. I don't know if you guys don't hear any in the background. I knew there would occasionally be like a light. Even when I would move the laptop, I'd sit it behind this fucking monitor. And you would still hear it faintly in the background. But I actually, you know, recently got the M1 Mac Mini, ladies and gentlemen. 16 gigabytes of RAM, which was the most important for me. You can't get any higher than that right now. It's not available. They're saying possibly later in the year they're going to have like, oh shit, they said Jokic got ejected from Game 4. The Nuggets are about to get swept by the Suns. That's interesting. So, yeah, I got it. You can only get, the highest you can get them in RAM is back to the Mac Mini. It's the M1 Mac Mini. It's the new chip, the new Apple designed processor. They're just moving away from Intel, and they're having their own shit. But the issue here that I'm having with the new computer, I mean, it's silent, which is the most important thing to me, is that it's not crazy fans blowing insane. I mean, when I was online and I saw this exact machine, and they've compared it to like the $6,000 Mac Pro, and it's like right there as fast and even faster than it in some aspects. With like video editing, all kinds of shit. It's either just as fast as a $6,000 Mac Pro or like slightly below it. All right? So it's a very powerful machine. I looked into it and I saw that certain plugins didn't work on the M1 Mac Mini, but I didn't understand really how deep that rabbit hole goes, ladies and gentlemen. So I had to make some adjustments with this recording. There's a few other plugins that I usually put on these. I had this chain. I had this chain that I had. It's called the Formioli. Shout out to my wife. She loves SpongeBob. She loves the Formioli. So I called this chain the Formioli, and like half of the chain does not work on this operating system, the Big Sur 11 point blah blah blah. The Big Sur, it doesn't work yet. Companies now have to like make adjustments and try to update their programs. You know, like none of my Waves plugins work on the M1. I mean, I still have my laptop, so that's what's important right now, because I also can't use my Atom, my drum pad, my Atom by PreSonus. I can't. It doesn't connect yet. It hasn't been updated to the point where you can use any of their drum pads with the M1 processor, with the Big Sur. It hasn't fucking been updated enough. So there are limitations right now for what I can do. But it's a powerful boy, bad boy. There were some plugins that I had acquired with the old Mac, with my MacBook, that I wasn't able to use without my laptop going crazy. And now they work perfectly with my M1 Mac Mini. So it's like, I was like, fuck, I can't use those. But I was like, but shit, this shit I was never able to use before works now. And that's why I'm able to record here. Or I was going to be like, I got to maybe go back to the Mac. But I think this sounds pretty solid right here, I would say so. If I do say so myself, I would say this is pretty solid quality. So I chose to go with this M1 Mac Mini because I was like, even though I know it has limitations today, and people right now are having to adjust and make updates to a company or to account for this processor. So yeah, today there's limitations, but in a month or so, 2 months, everything's gonna be available here, and I'm gonna have this powerful machine to use those things with. So I'm happy with the purchase currently. I'm happy with the update, the upgrade. I was able because I'm using this Melda. I got this Melda auto volume, which is most important to me when I'm doing this podcast, because that, if you don't know, that plugin allows me to drown out background noise and just catch certain things and get a certain amount of input. So that's really important to me. Let me see how this works. I think that was pretty loud. I think you still hear that. But no, I like this because the other programs or plugins were a little more automatic, while these plugins, I'm having to like just get in there and play with them, mess around with them, and I'm like, oh, that's what that's for. That's what that's for. So just naturally out of curiosity, I'm gonna figure this shit out. But I like this new M1 Mac Mini, 16 gigabytes. It's gonna do what it needs to do. So earlier today, actually, I put in my notes. Since game 2, I put in my notes that I was going to talk about the Bucks and the Nets. But at that point, we had just gone down 2. All right, we were down 2-0. Kevin Durant looked like he had just mastered Ultra Instinct. He was just shaking and baking Giannis Antetokounmpo. He was shredding Giannis Antetokounmpo. I'm not having a stroke or anything. I'm doing that purposely, all right? For comic effect. I felt like it was funny, but halfway through it, I was like, it's not funny, but I did it twice. Just to reiterate. So at the time, Durant was just cooking Giannis. And I didn't want to see, I was like, dude, we're about to get swept. It's just what it looked like. We got blew out in game 2. Game 3, it was like 86-83. We win. All right, we win in Milwaukee. Barely. Just barely. Thankfully, ladies and gentlemen, in game 4, Kyrie Irving hurts it. He fucks his ankle up a little bit, and he has to go out in the second quarter, and he's ruled out for the game. He's an ankle sprain. He landed weird. He went up for a layup, came down, and landed on Giannis. And the commentators were like, yo, that should have been a foul on Giannis. Which I was like, damn, what fucking... I couldn't tell which commentators. If I was listening to local commentators or what, because niggas was talking shit, it seemed like, about both squads. But it was like, while they're talking shit about the Bucks, it's like, dude, what feed am I listening to right now? I don't want to hear this shit. I want to hear pro-Buck talk in the playoffs. That's what I wanted to hear. Niggas was talking shit and they were saying that should have been a foul on Giannis, but Kyrie went down, and thankfully he went down because then the Bucks went up. And we evened the series 2-2. We're going back to Brooklyn. The x-rays on Kyrie came back positive. They said it was clean. So he's going to be reevaluated and further tested going as we go here. But, what's best for me here, what's best for Jermaine, is that Kyrie doesn't come back anytime soon. Or if he does come back sometime soon, he's a bit compromised because he was working cats. All right? He was cooking Drew Holiday. People are like, oh, we need Drew Holiday to step up in this series. He's getting cooked on the other side. He's exhausted. Trying to contain Kyrie Irving, and you can't. You can't contain Kyrie Irving. So, he's exhausted out there. Just even at the attempt, he's exhausted. All right? So I don't want to hear that talk like, oh, Drew needs to get it going. He's exhausted. I guarantee if there's no Kyrie in this next game, Drew Holiday's going to have the best game he's had this series. Because Kyrie is fucking amazing. He's cooking cats. They can't stop him. The narrative right now, or going into these games, was that Kevin Durant is unstoppable, which he does look that way at times. But when he goes off that floor and you just have Kyrie, it looked like no one could stop Kyrie. Commentators are like, I don't think they should let him go one-on-one anymore. Because he's destroying everybody. He's crossing people up. He looked amazing out there. And it was like, fuck. It's like I don't like to root for a player to fucking get hurt, but it's the playoffs. And you're playing my team. So we'll take whatever advantage we could get. You niggas ever see that movie Celtic Pride? Don't let this be a tough-ass Game 6. Don't let us go down in Brooklyn. You ever see that movie Celtic? No, I'm just playing. Just know that I'm playing. It's not serious. The movie Celtic Pride, it was Dan Aykroyd and Damon Wayans. Damon Wayans played a star player on the Utah Jazz, and they were playing against the Boston Celtics. And Dan Aykroyd and homeboy from Home Alone, the taller guy, they kidnapped Damon Wayans, who's the star player for the Jazz, so that the Celtics can win the NBA championship. That's the movie. I mean, that's not the whole movie. If you're like, well, you just told us the movie, I actually did not. I told you the plot of the movie. That's just the plot. It's a funny-ass movie. Actually, shit, that's a good-ass movie. Yo, shout out to Damon Wayans, man. He's got a lot of classics. You know what I'm saying? He's got a lot of, like, unsung classics. His stand-up, movies, TV shows, he's a beast. Shout out to that, man. I'm trying to see right now, what are my options to watch this shit? There's not many. But yo, hopefully there's no Kyrie Irving in Game 5, and we can take one in Brooklyn, bring it back home, and finish out in 6, ladies and gentlemen. No Kyrie, no James Harden. And speaking of James Harden, this past weekend we had, I think it was on Friday, we had Lamar Odom versus Aaron fucking Carter in a fucking circus-ass boxing match. 3 rounds, 90 seconds. Right? And since it's the championship round, these cats, they get a minute and a half apiece. Now I don't know what's finna happen. You know what I said was gonna happen? Because as I've told you guys, if you guys are long-time listeners, hi, I'm Jermaine, long-time listener. If you guys are long-time listeners, then you would know that that my wife is a lifelong, diehard Aaron Carter fan. All right? All right? Then you know this. All right? And you know, when you look at that fight, I was saying to my wife, like, I remember one time I was like, because she was saying how, like, he produced the last album and did everything, and I'm like, then when I start to look into Aaron Carter, I'm like, dude, I don't even know if he's necessarily singing on that album. You know what I'm saying? Nigga talking about he produced the whole thing. Nigga, let me see you make a beat, nigga. Let me see you do one thing. I don't know if he's doing anything he's talking about. He doesn't seem too capable. But this fight, my wife watches it because she tells me about it before, like, months ago, whenever it was announced, and I couldn't believe her. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, she's like, oh, Aaron Carter's boxing Lamar Odom. I'm like, Lamar Odom, like 6'10", former championship basketball player, NBA, like you're like, that's not real. And she's like, nah, it's scheduled, blah, blah, blah. Like my like I mentioned that my wife is a lifelong diehard Aaron Carter fan. He had shows in these, like, small bars in like northern Wisconsin, bumfuck Wisconsin, if you will. And she took pictures with him, you know what I'm saying? And my wife is about 5'10", and she towered over this man. And they're claiming in, like, the news, and if you look up Aaron Carter's height on the fucking boxing, they're saying this man's 6 feet tall. My wife's not 6 feet tall, yet she was towering over Aaron Carter. I think Lamar Odom is legit 6'10". And when they got in that ring together, it looked ridiculous. Lamar is just, like, landing. He's actually landing punches on this man, and it looks silly. You got Aaron was, like, jumping up and hitting Lamar, but it didn't really seem like Lamar was being hurt, but, like, Aaron was jumping up in the air and fucking throwing punches and actually landing things. But then he's just getting fucking rocked. He's just getting beat. It looked pretty bad. It was getting, and, like, they had Chuck Liddell, my niggas. Chuck Liddell was reffing this shit, and I'm like, yo, that's the first mistake right there. Because she told me, because I saw the headline, and I was like, that's dumb. And she was like, oh, you know Chuck Liddell? And I was like, yeah, he's reffing that fight, and it's stupid because he's not a boxer. You know what I'm saying? He's an MMA guy. He's not a boxer. He doesn't, like, necessarily know. He doesn't have the years of being in there and ref. I was like, they should put a real ref in there. And, I don't know. It's so dumb. I'm watching fucking Aaron Carter, like, turn away, like, kind of, like, run away from, like, turn his back to Lamar Odom, which, at that point, the ref should fucking warn you, like, yo, don't turn your back, or I'm gonna stop this fight. When you turn your back on your opponent, that tells the ref that person does not want to be in there anymore. Do not turn your back. He should have got a warning, but did Chuck Liddell fucking do that? No. Then you got, I don't know, I swear, like, Aaron did, like, some spinning attack. He did a spinning attack on Lamar Odom. And he got knocked down in the second round and just, like, didn't get up until the count was over. Then he stood up, and that was just the fight. And you can't find out, it's not disclosed how much they got paid for this bullshit. These people, it was like $30 on pay-per-view. My wife did not pay that. She caught the replay on YouTube. Then I saw the replay on YouTube, and it was pretty sad. It was pretty sad. But he went in there and got beat up, and they probably paid him a few million. You know what I'm saying? He probably got paid a few million to go get beat up. In a fake fight, man. I don't know how real that fight was, you know. But I'm sure he got paid. Speaking of real fights, Claressa Shields made her MMA debut. You know, she's just bored. She's bored with boxing. She's she's 26 years old, 2-time Olympic gold medalist in boxing, 3-division weight champion in professional boxing. And she's just bored. From Flint, Michigan, by the way. Shout out to her, Claressa Shields. She's just bored. She felt like boxing is disrespectful, doesn't give the attention to women that it should. And she's bored with it. So she's going to try her hand at MMA, and she was successful. She was successful in her first fight. She got the ground and pound win in the third round. I didn't see the entire fight. Saw some highlights and heard that she was pretty much taken down in the first 2 rounds. I saw, though, like, there was a bunch of scrambles, but... And then Claressa's fucking stand-up, dude. She's just... Her combinations to the head and the body are just so quick and powerful. She's a monster with her stand-up. Like, a monster. She's a 2-time Olympic gold medalist with her boxing, and it fucking shows, bro. It's like, whew, that was sharp. That's why that girl just had to keep taking her down, but it was like she had no real offense to, like, hurt Claressa on the ground. Because, man, them strikes were coming sharp, and it was a nice... I haven't seen anybody really strike like that. The way she was striking, her punches, how fast they were, the angles, the level change, up, down, up. She was just, like, hitting you everywhere. You didn't really have a chance to defend. It was nice. She's a fucking monster. I could see why she's undefeated in boxing, because that shit looked nasty. You got no choice but to take that girl down. But shout out to Claressa Shields. She wins her debut. I was listening to, is it called the Believe You Me podcast? Or maybe that's not, it's called Weighing In. Believe You Me is another podcast. But it's called Weighing In, and it's with Josh Thompson and, Big John McCarthy. Big John McCarthy. It's crazy, because I was looking at him, I was like, I'm sure this show is major. They're starting the show, and they were talking about, like, how when people give them shout-outs, how it helps so much. And I was like, helps so much? This is a major podcast. And then I look at the fucking followers. They only got, like, 100,000 subscribers. And I was like, fuck. They don't, like, I know prison YouTube channels with way more than that. So I guess it's not that big. But my point is, Big John McCarthy raised the question of, how come if an MMA guy goes over to boxing, they fight the top guy over there, right? They fight the young, most skilled top dude over there. Like, no, people are calling out fucking, what's the guy? They're calling out Canelo and shit like that. They're calling out Floyd. And it's like when one of our guys goes, when one of the MMA guys goes over there, they have to fight one of the top guys over there. But when somebody like Claressa Shields, a boxer, or anybody, when they come over here to MMA, they give them somebody with a losing record, somebody they have a chance to beat, and not someone like at the top of the fucking sport. Like, why is that? Why doesn't two-time Olympian, 3-division weight champion, why doesn't she have to go fight, like he was saying, like Kayla Harrison, who's like the top woman of that division in that same company? Like, why doesn't she go fight her first? And it's because you want to make as much money off her as you can while you can. That's as simple as that. But but when he raised the question, I was like, damn, it honestly doesn't make any sense. Other than the fact that this is just a show. It's set up for her to win. It's not. I'm not saying it's scripted. What I'm saying is like they put her in there with someone whose record is 3-6, and they know probably couldn't handle the striking, the power. They wouldn't have anything for it. And now they got a rising star in MMA with Claressa Shields. UFC 263 this past weekend. One of the fights, you had Belal Muhammad defeating Damian Maia, 43-year-old Damian Maia. Belal just, he's a tough guy. He grinds it out. He's in your face. He just does that. I wanted, him to ultimately fight. I still want him to fight Leon Edwards next. Hopefully that happens. I think he should fight Leon Edwards next. But Belal beats Damian Maia. And then you had what felt like to me as I'm watching it, even at the end of the fight, I'm like, dude, that felt like the main event. Like why are there more fights after this? Like, that's how I felt. Like, even my favorite fighter, Israel Adesanya, is fighting 2 fights later. It's just like, dog, that y'all should have ended with that fight right there. It's not going to get much more exciting than that. And so it's a real good fight between Nate Diaz and Leon Edwards, man. But Edwards, man, he was just finding Diaz, like, early with this, like, check hook, like, as fucking Diaz was coming in. He was, like, just finding him. Tuck him down. Edwards took Diaz down, took his back. But, like, Diaz was able to get up with no damage. But it was a pretty even round, but with the takedown, and, like, he was just landing a few more strikes. Gave that round to Edwards. Gave the second round to Edwards. Leon was landing fucking leg kicks, like, really hurting Diaz's leg. He wasn't checking a lot of them early on. Diaz would land some strikes and then go into the clinch and just try to lock up, but then right away he would get taken down by Edwards. It happened repeatedly. He'd land these strikes, these combinations, rush in for a clinch, get up against the cage, and once he's up against the octagon, fucking Edwards would just take him down. It was like, well, maybe you probably shouldn't do that anymore. But Diaz was able to get up, and then he takes another heavy leg kick, and Diaz would be like, he's just like taunting. He's like turning around, excuse me. It's interesting because I was giving Aaron Carter shit for turning his back on Lamar Odom. And then you have Nate Diaz in here. He's literally turning his back and, like, he's, like, kind of, like, twerking. He, like, grabbed the fence at one point. Like, he turned on him one time and was just, like, showing his, like, bending over. And, like, Diaz and Edwards almost, like, kicked Diaz in the ass. But he, like, just moved out of the way. But it was, like, every time he was doing these little taunting, like, shake my ass moments, like, it would throw Leon off. And he would be able to catch Leon with, like, a combination. But he's doing a lot of taunting. So I gave the second round to Edwards. Third round, he's landing some heavy hands on Diaz. Landing some heavy leg kicks on Diaz. Edwards gets another takedown. Starts landing some elbows on Diaz. Cuts Diaz up. Like right above his left eye, he's cut up. on the side of the right side of his head. He's cut up, bleeding out of 2 different places on his head. Edwards lets him up. Yeah, Edwards just like lets him up, and he takes Nate down again. Edwards takes the back. Diaz looks like a mess, but he's able to get up. He's still coming forward, but I give that round to Edwards easily. He's just dominating. It sounds like he's dominating. Round 4, Diaz is like, he lands some good combination, like a 3-strike combination. Edwards lands a big overhand right in the 4th round. Like, Diaz like gave him a thumbs up, acknowledged that it was a pretty good punch. Like, fucking caught him. Diaz lands a fucking nice 1-2, and then he clinched up again. It's pretty even on the feet. But I gave that round once again to Leon Edwards. In round 5, Edwards lands a fucking heavy 1-2. He just came in hard, trying to take out Diaz. And he comes out hard in the 5th round. Edwards lands another heavy left hand. I thought he was going to actually, like, at this point, like, the way the fight was going, I thought, and how he came out in the 5th round, I thought Edwards was going to finish Diaz. Then Diaz starts landing, clinches up, and then, like, they separate, and then fucking Diaz fucking comes through, right hand, Stockton slap, catches Edwards, comes in right behind that with a fucking straight left, or maybe it was looping, whatever it was. He hit him with the left, and he fucking rocks Edwards. Edwards was like wobbling. It was like 50 seconds left. He's doing the chicken dance, and like, but he was just, whatever reason, able to survive. But when this happened, ladies and gentlemen, I'm screaming, "Come on, Nate! Let's go, Nate!" I'm screaming, ladies and gentlemen. Like, I was so excited. Like, like I was rooting for Nate. You know? There's no secret about that. I was rooting for Nate coming into this fight. And then he's, as I'm reading, just getting dominated. And Edwards came out hard in the 5th round. Ready, like, heavy shots. He's coming. He's trying to finish this fight at the start of the 5th round. So I'm like, fuck, dude. Nate's getting beat up right now. He's probably, like, it was back and forth on the stand-up, but right now, he's just bleeding all over the place. You know what I'm saying? It just looks bad. It looks bad. And then Diaz just fucking, with a minute left, rocks him. And it was the most exciting part of the whole fucking night. And at that point, in my mind, fuck them scorecards, nigga. Diaz wins the fight. But Diaz lost. He lost 49-46. You know, every judge gave that last round to Nate. He almost fucking ended the fight in the 5th round. He almost ended the fight. Wasn't able to, but he lost every other round before that. So Edwards beats Nate Diaz via unanimous decision. Just as I scored it, unfortunately. I was hoping, like, you know, before they read it off, I'm like, dude, that's how I scored it. But people don't always score it the way I score it, you know what I'm saying? That's why people say there's robberies, because we're sitting at home scoring it. And when you get bullshit scores, you're like, yo, who the fuck is watching this fight? So I was hoping we could get some, like, fan favorite fucking sways the judges into thinking maybe fucking Nate won 2 rounds in there somehow. 2 other rounds outside of the 5th round somehow. And somehow gave it. I was hoping, but it didn't. Usman said after the fight, he was like, well, I guess no one deserves to fight for the belt. And because Edwards was almost finished, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, because I tweeted out that after watching this fight, I in no way feel like Edwards could fucking beat Kamaru Usman. And it's not like, oh, do I feel like he could survive 5 rounds? It's not what it's about. We're trying to put people in a fight where you don't know what's going to happen. And after watching that fight, I feel like Usman would dominate Leon Edwards. I didn't feel like that he was the number one contender at the end of that. And Dana says Colby is still first in line after that fight. So he agrees that performance, especially after he almost got knocked out at the end of the fight, I'm sorry you dominated for 24 minutes. Or as they were saying, people were tweeting, oh, he dominated for 24 minutes and then almost lost again. He was like, I don't know how dominant. Yeah, he was winning those rounds, but it was back and forth, dude. And then he was just like, oh, he got a takedown here in this round. So I guess I'll give it to him because it was even. And then second round, oh, it's pretty even on the stand-up. But he's landing a little bit more and he got a takedown. You know what I'm saying? But it wasn't like he was doing in the third round, he was able to cut Nate. But before that, he wasn't able to do a lot with those takedowns. So people say, oh, it was domination. It wasn't. It wasn't. It was a pretty good fight. And when Nate fucking almost turned it around at the end, that shit was fucking crazy. I don't care that he lost. Nate Diaz is the fucking man. And I don't care that he lost. He won in my eyes. I don't care that he lost. So as I said, Dana says Colby Covington is still first in line to fight Kamaru Usman. I think Diaz should fight Bilal Muhammad. I think he should fight Bilal Muhammad next. And I think Edwards should fight Khamzat Chimaev next. I think that's who Edwards should fight, is Khamzat Chimaev. If not Bilal Muhammad. Next fight, you had Deiveson Figueiredo versus Brandon Moreno. This is episode 95, Moreno. And my pick last week was Deiveson Figueiredo. And I was like, yo, Brandon Moreno just gets hit too much. And I was like, Figueiredo's definitely going to touch him up and probably finish him. That's not the case. Moreno came in early pressure. He's all over Deiveson. Figueiredo was like pretty much not really throwing anything. Like Fig landed an elbow in the first round, like a nice elbow, but like Moreno is just like all over him with the strikes, all over him with the grappling. Figueiredo is just like winging punches with no setup. Moreno drops Figueiredo with a jab in the first round. I scored a 10-8, Brandon Moreno. He was all over Figueiredo in that first round. Figueiredo takes Brandon Moreno down in the second round. And Moreno was able to scramble and take the back. He was able to take Figueiredo's back. All right, Figueiredo grabbed the fence. It was really egregious. Like, I can't stand fence grabs, but like really egregious fence grab. But thankfully, Moreno was able to still get position. And Phoenix fucking loves Moreno. It was just Moreno chants all day at this point. Moreno lands an elbow from top guard. He's just all over fucking Deiveson Figueiredo. But he also, like, through the exchange when he was taken down and Figueiredo's on him, he's got a little bit of a hematoma. He's got quite the hematoma right above his left eye. But I still scored that round 20-18 for Brandon Moreno. And you got round 3. Moreno takes center immediately, just rushes to the center. Fig lands a nice spinning heel kick to the body, though. I thought that was pretty nice. I was like, all right, he's ready to fucking shake it out. You know, I picked him. He's ready to he's ready to fight now. And Moreno takes Fig's back in they got into a scramble here. Like somehow they ended up getting into a scramble. I didn't see who shot. Like it happened so fast. And they got into a scramble, and Moreno takes his fucking back, and Moreno's just fucking dominating this guy, and then he fucking submits Deiveson Figueiredo via rear naked choke in the third round. Like, Figueiredo had absolutely nothing for Moreno in this fight. Brandon Moreno is the first ever Mexican-born champion, UFC champion. And he's just a good dude, man. You watch the videos with Brandon Moreno, and you just fucking love this guy's personality. As I said on Instagram, like, my pick, or I think I said on Twitter, like, my pick is Figueiredo, like, going into the fight. But I was like, but I don't care who wins because Brandon Moreno won me over with his personality. And you got after the fight, they announced who's the champion. And Figueiredo, they put the belt on Brandon Moreno, and Figueiredo comes over and lifts Brandon Moreno up and, like, just, like, out of celebration, like, you know what I'm saying? It was, like, one of the most classy things I've ever seen. You've never seen somebody lose their belt and then go and raise the other guy up, like, yeah, you fucking did it. Like that was fucking beautiful. You get those moments in MMA, all right? You only get those moments in MMA. That was beautiful. Actually, I've never seen it happen. Never seen it happen. Shout out to fucking Davison Figueiredo. Shout out to Brandon Moreno. That was a beautiful fight. Man, Moreno just looked like a monster in there. Because he looked like a monster. But it was just like, not necessarily a monster. I'll say this because Davison Figueiredo looked like a monster coming into this. And then Brandon Moreno looked like a guy who worked his ass off. That's what he comes off to me, as a fucking dude who works his ass off. Not a monster. A fucking dude a man who works his fucking ass off is what Brandon Moreno comes off to me. Like, I gave him no chance in this fight. And the former champion, Davison Figueiredo, had absolutely nothing for Brandon Moreno. So shout out to him. Congratulations to him and his whole family, his whole team. Shout out to all y'all, man. I say potential next opponents for Moreno is either Askar Askarov, who fought Brandon Moreno to a draw, and he isn't currently booked. So I think that could possibly be that could be the first title defense for Brandon Moreno. But then you also have Alexandre Pantoja and Brandon Royval. Alexandre Pantoja, he's the last person to beat Brandon Moreno back in 2019. And then you got Brandon Royval, who is fighting, he's fighting Pantoja in August. So I feel like the winner of that fight could be potentially the next number one contender. You know what I'm saying? And I think Figueiredo should fight the loser of the Pantoja-Royval fight. For whatever reason, Figueiredo said, Dana White, just give me 6 months and I'll be ready to fight again. I don't know why he just knew he needed 6 months off. But that's what he said. Give me 6 months and I'll be ready to fight again. I mean, maybe he just wants some time off, but it didn't look like he wanted to fight. He wasn't throwing it right away. He was talking about, I'm going to finish this dude in the first round. It didn't look like you were trying to finish. You weren't throwing strikes in the first round. He said he was going to knock him out in the first round, and then he goes in there and barely throws anything. It's because Brandon was all over this man. But in the main event, you got Israel Adesanya versus Marvin Vettori in the rematch, part 2. Adesanya walks out to Somewhere I Belong by Linkin Park, and he's wearing a Hanya mask, which is a symbol of good luck, and it's used to ward off evil. It originates in Japan. It's pretty fucking cool. It was just the mouth and the teeth were like gold. And he's wearing like the hat, like a samurai type hat. You know what I'm saying? Like similar to like what Raiden in Mortal Kombat would wear. But yeah, Adesanya just dominated Vettori this whole fight. Vettori would go for clinches, but it didn't really matter. I was counting leg kicks. Like here we are in the 4th round, and Adesanya had landed 32 unchecked leg kicks on Vettori. Vettori's like fucking falling to the ground from these leg kicks. All right? It's just complete domination. We don't need to go through all those rounds. But Izzy dominates, wins 50-45. Vettori somehow thinks he won the fight. But everybody scored it 50-45 Adesanya, which means he lost every single round. And yet he was arguing that he won the fight. He thinks the judges don't know what they were watching. and it's wild. But he also in the same, he wants to fight Paulo Costa next. He's already ready to fight. Again, he wants to fight Paulo Costa, who is refusing to fight because he doesn't make YouTuber money. Well, just because, I don't know about YouTuber money, because he's refusing to fight because he makes less than like $350,000, and he was saying people who are unranked and fight on the prelims, like there's certain fighters who make more money to fight than he makes currently. And if that's the case, then fuck, dude, pay this man. He's in your top fucking 5 in your division. He's one of the most, he's one of the more marquee fucking fighters you're gonna have here, hopefully, for the next 10 years. He's young. But, I don't know. He wants to fight Paulo next. Adesanya dedicated this fight to his training partner who was murdered recently. It's pretty terrible news, but it's a beautiful thing for him to dedicate this fight to him. Adesanya says the rematch with Robert Whittaker will take place in New Zealand. He says he calls the shots. And Whittaker tweets out, "Rest up, see you soon." So that's going to be the next fight for Adesanya, is the rematch with the Reaper, Robert Whittaker, who he finished in the second round, which would have been the first round, but he was the second late getting to him. And then you had UFC Vegas. Well, we have UFC Vegas 29 coming up here. I'm just going to talk about the main event here. You got Dan Ige versus Korean Zombie Chan Sung Jung. And I don't think this fight will be too competitive at all, ladies and gentlemen. I just don't. I think Ige will finish Chan Sung Jung. Chan Sung Jung. Chan Sung Jung. I don't know why I'm trying to say it fast. The way the Korean Zombie chases his opponents, like the way he does that shit in every fight, and it's the number one when you watch MMA. They're like, oh my God, they're chasing their opponent. They should be cutting off the octagon. But fight after fight, Korean Zombie chases his opponent. He'll get hit and then gets angry and tries to chase him and get it back, it seems like. I think that's what happens. And he starts just chasing people. He's not cutting off the octagon. And that's why Brian Ortega looked so good against him. Brian Ortega did not improve. He didn't look like he improved at all to me. He was the same fighter that he fought Max Holloway. And if he fought Max Holloway again, he'd probably get finished even sooner. He was finished that fight. Was he not? Yeah, he was finished. Like, there's doctor stoppage. Because half of his face was just twice the size it had ever been, and there was no way he could see out of his eye. Because his face was gigantic. It was all fucking puffy. He didn't get any better. It's just Chan Sung Jung, the Korean Zombie. His striking is just so flawed. He's got these glaring holes. And until they address those glaring holes with him chasing his opponent rather than cutting off the octagon, he's tailor-made to make any educated striker look great. Any educated striker at this level is going to look great because they see how he just chases them. So I don't think this fight will be too competitive at all unless Korean Zombie has addressed that one thing. If he addresses that one aspect, that one glaring hole in his game, then fuck, maybe he could be a champion one day. But while he's still just chasing people in a straight line, just following them rather than fucking cutting off the octagon, he'll never be much more than what he is. Just a contender, just a name. They know him as Korean Zombie because of what he's done in the past, and I don't think he'll be much more than that unless he fixes those glaring holes in his stand-up. And if you guys want to follow this podcast on Instagram and Twitter, it's at Babylon5Pod. You can follow my personal account at My Name's Jermaine. You can email this podcast at Babylon5Podcast@gmail.com. You can listen to this podcast. You could follow this podcast. If you guys are listening right now, you enjoyed this episode, you made it this far, go to Podbean and follow this podcast at babylon5.podbean.com. You can also listen to this podcast on Podbean, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, YouTube, pretty much anywhere podcasts stream. And if you guys are on Xbox, go ahead and add me at SauceBoss414. You guys can add me on Twitch at twitch.tv/Babylon5. You guys can buy some merchandise at teespring.com/store/BOFpod-shop. And don't just be my Negroes, be my patrons. Go to patreon.com/Babylon5pod to be my patrons. And also add me on Discord at Babylon5pod. You guys can also add me at TikTok. Add me on TikTok at Babylon5podcast. Yeah. Had to throw that in there at some point. This has been your boy, Jermaine Babbles. Thank you guys so much for being here another week. This is episode 95, Moreno. I hope you guys are taking care of yourselves and each other. I'll see you next week. And I'll see you when I see you. I'll holla.
Chant down Babylon kingdom. Team make we chant down Vatican now. Bang, bling, bling, chant down Babylon kingdom. Team make we chant down